The sun shines brightly on the earth. A group of people dressed as civilians were walking on the outskirts. The Emperor of China, Concubine Wen, and Princess Lu Yunru were all dressed as ordinary people and sitting in a carriage. The Emperor looked at Concubine Wen and Lu Yunru. Lu Yunru's apple-like little face had a pair of bright and talkative eyes, a pair of willow leaf eyebrows, and delicate red lips, which were really cute. He wore a small but exquisitely made hairpin on his head, with the shape of a lotus carved on it. Lu Yunru looked out the window. The Emperor said, "Concubine Wen, Yunru, are you too hungry? We are almost at the inn ahead. Then you can rest and eat." Concubine Wen said, "Thank you, Your Majesty, for your concern. I am not hungry. I think Yunru must be hungry," the Emperor said. You only care about Yunru." Concubine Wen said, "The queen died early, and Yunru is my only mother. I have already decided that Yunru is my daughter." Concubine Wen looked at Yunru and said, "Isn't that right, my little princess?" Lu Yunru said, "Yes, since I can remember, I have only one mother, my concubine." Lu Yunru sat next to the Emperor, took the Emperor's hand, and said, "Father, I am not hungry either. I thought it was my father who was hungry, so he kept asking me and my concubine if we were hungry." The Emperor touched Lu Yunru's hair, looked at Yunru, and another beautiful face appeared in front of his eyes. Said, "Yunru is so considerate and a good daughter of my father. Well, when we get to the inn, let's have dinner together as a family." Suddenly, the sky became overcast. A gust of wind and sand blew, and a group of masked men in black rushed over on horseback. The accompanying people drew their swords to fight. The carriage that the Emperor and others were riding in was split open by the leader of the men in black with his sword. The three of them fell from the carriage and fell to the ground. It was too late, but soon, a man in black dismounted, knocked Lu Yunru unconscious, picked up Lu Yunru, and flew on the horse. Concubine Wen shouted, "Yunru, Yunru, please save Yunru." The people accompanying her only focused on protecting the Emperor, and only one person broke out of the encirclement to chase the man in black who took the princess away. Not long after chasing, someone shot an arrow at the man. The man was hit by the arrow and fell off his horse. The person who captured Lu Yunru disappeared from everyone's sight on horseback. When the man in black saw that Lu Yunru had been captured, he no longer wanted to fight. He used Qing Kung Fu to get on his horse and galloped away. The man in black led Lu Yunru on horseback. Lu Yunru suddenly woke up, struggled desperately, and shouted, "Help! Help!" The man in black stretched out a hand to cover Lu Yunru's mouth. Cheng Qian, the crown prince of the capital, rode by with several guards and heard Lu Yunru's voice. Cheng Qian reined in his horse and said, "Stop." Cheng Qian had a deep outline and a pair of bright eyes on his handsome face. Thick eyebrows added a bit of heroism to his face. Cheng Qian's movements were all filled with a noble kingly temperament. Cheng Qian raised his hand and asked the guards to stop. Cheng Qian listened carefully. Cheng Qian pointed in one direction and said, "Someone is calling for help over there. Let's go and have a look." Cheng Qian led a group of guards and rushed towards the man in black. Cheng Qian's team finally caught up with the man in black. Cheng Qian saw the man in black holding a little girl. Without saying a word, he ordered the guards to block the man in black's way. The man in black said, "Who are you? How dare you block your grandpa's way? Get out of the way." While the man in black was speaking, Lu Yunru bit the man in black who was holding her and shouted, "Brother, they are bad guys, help me." Cheng Qian saw Lu Yunru with pink makeup, and for a moment, he couldn't take his eyes away from Lu Yunru. Cheng Qian shouted to the guards, "Go up and save her." The guards used Qinggong, flew up from their horses, drew their swords in the air, and stabbed the man in black. Not to be outdone, the men in black drew their swords to fight. The man in black holding Lu Yunru wanted to escape on horseback, but Cheng Qian led his guards to block his way. Cheng Qian drew his sword and shouted, "Put her down quickly." The guard fought with the man in black. The man in black responded and finally had to let go of Lu Yunru. Lu Yunru fell off the horse. Cheng Qian dismounted and rushed towards Lu Yunru. Another man in black rushed over and reached out to catch Lu Yunru. Lu Yunru ran desperately in the other direction, and Cheng Qian also ran in this direction. The man in black drew his sword, but Lu Yunru fell to the ground. Cheng Qian ran to Lu Yunru and picked up Lu Yunru. At this time, the two of them were close to the cliff. The man in black rushed over with his sword, but Cheng Qian dodged. Unexpectedly, the man in black's move was a false move. He attacked from behind and slapped Cheng Qian's back. Cheng Qian fell to the ground, and Lu Yunru fell near the edge of the cliff. Cheng Qian stood up, but unexpectedly the man in black struck him with another sword. Cheng Qian dodged the strike, but failed to stand firm and fell off the cliff. At the same time as the fall, it was discovered that Lu Yunru had also fallen. Cheng Qian reached out and hugged Lu Yunru, and the two of them fell off the cliff. The royal carriages and horses of the Chinese kingdom were walking in the countryside, with the guards riding horses at the front of the team, and the emperor's carriage behind the guards. Concubine Wen, Concubine Yun, and Concubine Tian were sitting in the carriage and walking in the middle of the procession, while the palace maids and eunuchs were walking behind the procession. The sun was blazing, and those walking and riding horses were sweating profusely, and their mouths were dry. The captain of the guard looked at the sun in the sky, wiped the sweat on his neck with his sleeves, rode up to the emperor's carriage, and said to the emperor across the carriage, "Your Majesty, we are not far from Qingyun Temple. Do you want to take a rest?" The emperor's voice came from the carriage. "Stop the car, and let everyone rest where you are." A man wearing a dragon robe, with a dignified appearance, thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a deep outline got out of the carriage. The emperor looked at the sky, and then toward the woods on the outskirts. Concubine Wen was elegant, sitting in the carriage, opening the curtain and looking at the sky outside the carriage. Concubine Wen said to Concubine Yun and Concubine Tian, "You two sisters, you can take a rest. Do you want to get out of the car and get some fresh air?" Concubine Yun and Concubine Tian were surrounded by pearls and emeralds, and they were beautifully dressed. They both also opened the curtain and looked at the sky outside the carriage. Concubine Yun said, "I won't go out anymore, sister. It's better to sit in the car and feel more comfortable." Concubine Tian said, "I won't go out anymore. Sister, let's get more sun outside. It's better to sit in the car and feel more comfortable." Concubine Wen got off the carriage and looked at the emperor. At the end of the procession, Princess Lu Yunru of China left the procession wearing eunuch's clothes and carrying a small bundle. A eunuch asked, "What are you doing?" Lu Yunru lowered his head and said, "I'm going to the woods for a while." Lu Yunru trotted all the way to the grove, opened the bundle, took off the eunuch's clothes, and put on the clothes of the common people contained in the bundle. Although he is dressed very plainly, but if you take a closer look, Lu Yun's snow-like skin, ink-like black hair, curved willow eyebrows, very beautiful red phoenix eyes, such a small mouth, and red lips, the whole person seems to be a fairy who accidentally fell into the world. Lu Yunru wiped the sweat with her sleeves and fell into memories. That day, the emperor stood in Fengwan Palace, and Lu Yunru knelt on the ground in Fengwan Palace. With tears streaming down her face, Lu Yunru tugged on the emperor's sleeves and said, "Father, please don't marry the prince of the capital. I have never met him, and I don't love him at all. How can my father let me marry him like this?" The emperor threw Lu Yunru away and shouted, "As children of the royal family, we live for the royal family and die for the royal family. My father also made this decision for the benefit of the country. In any case, your marriage to the Prince of Beijing is a foregone conclusion." Lu Yunru cried, "Father, my son and I will not marry. Our son and I will not marry." The emperor flicked his sleeves and left the Hashio Palace. The sun was shining in the woods, and Lu Yunru didn't know how long he had been walking. Lu Yunru looked at the sky and touched the baggage. The baggage was already empty, and his stomach growled. Lu Yunru wiped the sweat from his face and head and looked into the distance. A young girl, Ahe, dressed in peasant girl's clothes, was chopping firewood on the mountain. Lu Yunru looked at this beautiful, kind-faced girl, walked over and said, "Girl, can you give me some water?" Ahe looked at Lu Yunru's embarrassed but pretty face and said, "Okay, wait a minute, I'll get you some water." The young girl took out the bamboo tube from the bamboo basket and handed it to Lu Yunru. Lu Yinru took the bamboo tube and drank the water in the bamboo tube in one breath. Lu Yinru's stomach growled again. Ahe heard the sound, smiled and said, "Are you hungry?" Lu Yinru nodded sheepishly. Ahe took out the big cake from the bamboo basket and handed it to Lu Yinru. Lu Yinru took the pie unceremoniously and ate it without caring about the image. Ahe couldn't help but burst out laughing and said with a smile, "My name is Ahe. What is your name? Why do you appear here?" Lu Yinru swallowed a mouthful of cake and said, "I." Suddenly, a rustling gust of wind blew, and the leaves on the trees were fluttering. Lu Yinru looked at the leaves on the tree and shouted, "No, it's murderous." A masked man in black, Demingxian, fell from the sky. Demingxian held a sword in one hand and stabbed Lu Yinru with one sword. Lu Yinru cleverly dodged the sword. Ahe stepped back in fright, picked up the bamboo basket, and threw it at Demingxian. Demingxian split the bamboo basket with his sword. Ahau picked up Lu Yinru and rushed deep into the woods, and Demingxian quickly caught up with them. Lu Yinru picked up a wooden stick and started fighting with Demingxian. Although Lu Yinru also practiced martial arts, he was no match for Demingxian. After a few rounds, Lu Yinru was defeated and fell to the ground. Ahe rushed to help Lu Yinru, but Demingxian stabbed Lu Yinru with his sword. At this moment, Demingxian moved too fast and missed the thrust with his sword. The sword pierced Ahe's heart. Ahe instantly vomited blood and closed his eyes forever. Lu Yinru glanced at Ahe, stood up with all her strength, picked up the wooden stick, and continued to fight Demingxian. After a few rounds, Lu Yinru's arm was stabbed by Demingxian, and Lu Yinru fell to the ground again. Demingxian took the sword and wanted to stab Lu Yinru. In a daze, Lu Yinru saw an ink cartridge-shaped mark on Demingxian's sword. A man wearing a puppy mask, Cheng Qiyun, appeared with a sword and started fighting with Demingxian. Cheng Qiyun's martial arts was obviously higher than Demingxian's. After a few rounds, Cheng Qiyun's sword slashed Demingxian's arm. Demingxian screamed, "Ah!" A woman dressed in green, Du Ruyan, carrying an herb-collecting basket appeared. Du Ruyan has a beautiful appearance, kind eyebrows and kind eyes. She has fair skin and big eyes that are as smart as a bunny. She looks very spiritual. Du Ruyan saw the bloody fighting scene. He immediately dropped the medicine basket, pulled out his sword, and rushed forward. When Demingxian saw Du Ruyan rushing forward, he knew that he was no match for the two of them, so he immediately used Qing Kung Fu and ran away. Demingxian's figure quickly disappeared into the woods. Lu Yinru struggled to get up. In a daze, she looked into Cheng Qiyun's bright and tender eyes. Cheng Qiyun's eyes stopped on Lu Yinru and could not move away. Lu Yinru saw Cheng Qiyun wearing a cyan jade pendecarved with lotus patterns. Cheng Qiyun also used Qinggong to fly, and his tall figure quickly disappeared into the woods. Chapter 2: Homeless. Du Ruyan helped Lu Yinru up and saw that Lu Yinru was very weak, with a worried look on her face. Said, "Girl, how are you? Is it okay?" Lu Yinru said, "I." Lu Yinru looked up and fainted again. Du Ruyan applied herbal medicine to Lu Yinru's wound, tore his own clothes, and bandaged the wound. Du Ruyan wiped the dust on Lu Yinru's face with a handkerchief, looked at Lu Yinru's sleeping appearance, and couldn't help but said, "I have never seen such a beautiful girl, more beautiful than the fairies in the shrine." The sunset gradually set, and Lu Yinru finally woke up. Du Ruyan said, "You're awake." Lu Yinru looked at the sky and said, "Thank you, girl, for saving me. It's almost dark today." Du Ruyan asked, "Girl, in fact, there was more than one person who saved you just now, and there was also a person wearing a mask. But he has left. Where do you live? Can you go home alone?" Lu Yinru looked at Du Ruyan and quickly thought of a plan. "This girl looks very kind. She will definitely help me." Lu Yinru started to act, started crying, and said, "I and my family were hunted down by the enemy, and I have no home." Du Ruyan said, "Girl, don't cry yet. I will take you to my house for refuge first, okay?" Du Ruyan helped Lu Yinru stand up. Lu Yinru thought of the girl Ahe who had just given him water and pie, and asked quickly, "Did you see the girl who was with me just now? I remember she was hit by the man in black. Where is she now?" Du Ruyan said, I didn't see that girl. Let's look for it together. Du Ruyan and Lu Yinru looked around and saw Ahe not far away. They ran over quickly. Ahe was lying on the grass. Du Ruyan looked at Ahe and found that Ahe had been dead for a long time. Lu Yinru cried again, shook Ahe's body desperately and cried, "Miss Ahe, wake up. Wake up quickly." Du Ruyan said, "Please forgive me and accept the change. There is no resurrection after death." Lu Yinru said sadly in her heart, "Unexpectedly, when I walked out of the palace, the first person who helped me died like this. Is this folk more terrifying than the palace?" Du Ruyan said, "Girl, it's almost dark. At night, there will be wild beasts in the woods. You'd better follow me to my house earlier." Lu Yinru said, "Then Miss Ahe's body." Du Ruyan sprinkled some medicine on Ahe's body and said, "Don't worry, I sprinkled Lingyu powder on her body and the wild beasts and insects will not harm her body. Now, you can go home with me without any worries." Lu Yinru said, "Human death is like a lamp extinguishing, but when the lamp is on, it will always light up the cold night and bring light and warmth to others. Unfortunately, the lamp goes out when it is said to be out, and it is gone when people say it is gone." Du Ruyan said, "Okay, don't talk about these cliches here. I am a rough person who can't understand it. Let's get out of here quickly." Lu Yinru said, "Okay, let's go." Du Ruyan helped Lu Yinru leave the woods step by step. Du Ruyan helped Lu Yinru to the door of a large courtyard. Du Ruyan opened the door, and an exquisite small courtyard appeared in front of her. Du Ruyan helped Lu Yinru into the house in the courtyard and said, "You can stay in this house first." Lu Yinru said, "Girl, I don't know your name yet." Du Ruyan said, "My name is Du Ruyan. What about you? What's your name?" Lu Yinru said, "My name is Lu." Lu Yinru said in her heart, "No, I can't reveal my identity and let her know who I am. My name is Chen Wanyan." Du Ruyan said, "Miss Chen, you go to sleep first. I'll go to sleep in the room next to you. If you have anything, you can call me. You can treat this as your home." Lu Yinru said, "Thank you, Miss Du." Because she was injured after running around for a day, Lu Yinru immediately lay on the bed. For some reason, as soon as Lu Yinru closed her eyes, she thought of Cheng Qian's bright and tender eyes and his tall figure. Lu Yinru thought to herself, "Who will be the other man who saves me today? Why did you wear a mask? Why did you leave in such a hurry after saving me?" Lu Yinru felt as if she had entered another world. She was captured by her father and brought back to the palace. She was forced to get on a sedan chair to marry the Prince of Beijing. The moment the bride's hijab was lifted, she and the groom looked at each other. The tall and upright figure with bright and tender eyes was him. Lu Yinru shouted in her dream, "It's you," and then woke up. It turned out that it was just a dream. When I woke up, it was already noon the next day. Du Ruyan ran into the house, saw that Lu Yinru was awake, and said, "Miss Chen, you're awake." Lu Yinru's stomach growled again, and Du Ruyan said, "Miss Chen, are you hungry?" Lu Yinru had been immersed in her dream, and Du Ruyan's words brought her back to reality, and Lu Yinru nodded. Du Ruyan brought porridge and steamed buns. Seeing that Lu Yinru was still very weak, Du Ruyan asked, "Can you sit up and eat by yourself? Do you need me to feed you?" Lu Yinru sat up and said, "No, Miss Du, I can sit up and eat by myself." Lu Yinru chewed the porridge and steamed buns slowly this time. At night, Lu Yinru went to the well to fetch water and wanted to boil water for a hot bath. Lu Yinru struggled to pull the bucket to the edge of the well. Suddenly, she saw Cheng Qian's masked face in the water in the well, with bright and tender eyes. Lu Yinru shouted, "Ah," and the bucket fell into the water. Lu Yinru was lying on the edge of the well, trying to fish the barrel out of the water. Lu Yinru suddenly looked up and saw a man sitting on the wall, looking at him with a smile. "Ah!" Lu Yinru yelled, slipped, and fell into the well. "Help! Life!" Lu Yinru thought to herself. It was really over now. Could it be that she was going to be buried somewhere else? She regretted that she had gone her own way and ran out. She missed her father so much. The memory was being peeled away from her mind uncontrollably, and her body was slowly becoming illusory. It was night, and suddenly there was a white light in the blue sky. At this moment, Chu Qingyun, who was far away in Beijing, felt a sharp pain in his head, as if something was being pulled out of his body. He held his head and groaned, and a vague phantom appeared in front of his eyes. "Whose girl are you?" "Bitch girl, come out. Don't think you can pretend to be pitiful because you have lost all your spiritual power. I tell you, the prince can only be mine and the prince concubine can only be mine. Don't even think about it." Lu Yanru felt sore all over her body. She was woken up by the shouting outside the door. "Who is it? It's so early in the morning." She was about to sit up from the bed, but suddenly stopped. "Where am I?" Looking around, she saw that none of the furnishings in the room belonged to her country. Did I fall into the well? A sudden pain hit her brain, and a memory that did not belong to her flooded into her brain. It took a long time for Lu Yanru to recover from this sudden change. My soul has penetrated. Before she had time to digest this unfamiliar memory, the person yelling outside the door had already broken into the door, pointed at her nose and cursed. "You bitch, you are just like your worthless mother. Don't think that the prince will look at you twice because you pretend to be pitiful. I tell you, in this palace of the protector of the country, you have to behave honestly with your tail between your legs." Noisy. Such words suddenly came from Lu Yanru's ears. Who is it? Just what she felt. "It's me. I'm here." Lu Yanru was suspicious. It turned out to be the jade pendant she was wearing. The jade pendant she had lost before was now completely worn on her body. Only Lu Yanru could discover that the jade pendant was flowing with crimson light at the moment, and it was the ruby jade soul. "You brought me here?" Lu Yanru was very surprised and spoke to the jade pendant with her mind. "Didn't you lose it? I'm still planning to look for you." Yu Pei snorted arrogantly. "It's a long story, otherwise you think you are so lucky. I can only show up when you are in the most danger, but it costs me, Huoliyue, a lot of cultivation. You must cherish your little life, Miss Lu." That's natural. After a rebirth, Lu Yanru's mind also matured unknowingly, and she restrained her aura. Coupled with the memory of this body, she quickly thought of a way to deal with the current situation. She straightened up and stood up. "Since my sister wants to be the crown princess so much, let's make a bet that you can just go for it. I'm afraid His Highness the Crown Prince won't even look at you." After saying this, she covered her face and started giggling. The silver bell-like laughter was particularly harsh in Lu Linger's ears at this moment. "You, just wait for me. You have lost your status in the family, and you still dare to talk to me like this. I will ask my mother to deal with you." He threw away his sleeves angrily. "Stay with me to the end." Lu Yanru lay back on the bed comfortably, picked up the snacks next to him and ate them, slowly sorting out his memory. He is now in the capital, and his original owner is the eldest daughter of the protector's family. His mother was born in a brothel, but she has developed a character that is fearless. In this family, the eldest lady and her daughter Lu Linger are the most at odds with the original owner. No, the original owner had just been defeated and was severely punished, so the two mother and daughter could step on her head. Another person I have contact with is the Crown Prince of Jing. Prince? It's strange that the prince's appearance is so familiar to her. That sense of old acquaintance that she hasn't seen for a long time. Has she seen it before? Lu Yanru was confused. Little did she know there seemed to be a thread that closely connected her fate with the person. The next day, bang, 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 came a rude knock on the door. The eldest lady and her daughter Lu Linger ran out of the door early, seemingly eager to swear that Lu Yanru's time of making waves was over. She put on her clothes and opened the door with her long hair shawl, walking elegantly. "Madam, today, put on your slave's clothes and go to work. Don't be lazy all day long." Lu Lingo echoed, "Yes." Lu Yanru turned her head and sat on the chair. Her long legs were very eye-catching. She closed her eyes to rest her mind and paid no attention to these things. It seems that the eldest lady of the Lu family should be the one who can call the shots. Lu Lingo walked up to her, remembering the slap she gave, and raised her hand to slap her back. Lu Yanru hit her on the chest with a palm. Lu Linger's stunned eyes were cast on Lu Yanru's palm. Yesterday, she was a useless person who knew nothing, but today she has level 3 spiritual power. Lu Yanru got up from the chair, passed by the eldest lady, and looked forward indifferently. It seemed that Lu Romo hadn't come to see her these days because he was afraid of embarrassing her. She followed the maid and began to do the work of the servants, lowering her head and concentrating on washing the clothes. "I want to marry you." What she said was very arrogant. Who was she, Lu Yinru? How could anyone dare to marry her? She stopped her movements and frowned at the person who dared to say this. It turned out to be Qing Qian. I was afraid that he was the only one in Yujing who could be so arrogant. She was very interested, and the corners of her mouth turned up. "Waiting for you to propose marriage," she responded. Just like this, Qing Qian approached her and held her in his arms forcefully. He raised his chin in a smooth arc, and the sun hit his angular profile. From the first time he saw her, he felt that there was an irresistible familiarity about her. He couldn't explain it. With this feeling of love at first sight, Qing Qian was sure that it was her. Chapter 3: Familiar Memories. He said, "From now on you will be my crown princess." He held Lu Yinru's hand and walked to Lu Romo in a flamboyant manner and said without refusal, "This is how my marriage to the eldest lady of the Lu family has been decided. Does the protector have any objections?" Lu Yinru smiled slightly, with two shallow dimples appearing on his face. He was really decisive. If he wanted to play so much, he would play to the end. Lu Yinru responded quickly, "I hope Dad will make it happen." Qing Qian glanced at Lu Yinru's extremely natural appearance and waited for Lu Romo's answer. Lu Romo couldn't say anything and could only reluctantly nod in agreement. Then he looked at Lu Yinru angrily and said, "I hope you can give me a reasonable explanation for borrowing spiritual objects this time." Lu Yinru shrugged and had no comment. Qing Qian looked at Lu Yinru's temper. He was a wild cat that was not easy to tame, but the more stubborn he was, the more he wanted to tame him. Lu Yinru said, "I don't know what to say about this matter. Just believe whatever my sister tells you. The relationship between father and daughter seems to be close, but in fact it has begun to slowly break down." Lu Ling'er ran in angrily at this time, hands on hips, staring closely at Lu Yinru, who was calm, and Qing Qian, who was watching the excitement and didn't mind the matter. "Lu Yinru, you don't mean what you say." Lu Ling'er raised her head and glared at Lu Yinru, wishing she could slap him. Lu Yinru sat next to Qing Qian, raised his chin, smiled, and said, "The day before yesterday, I made a promise to my sister. I said that if she is interested in you, I will give it to him. What do you think?" Qing Qian took his hand away, clearly showing that he was teasing him. He looked at Lu Romo and said, "My crown princess can only be Lu Yinru. Others don't need to discuss it. What does the protector think?" Lu Romo pushed Lu Ling out and kept saying, "Let's go, Ling." After leaving the door, Lu Ling'er drooped her hands, her eyes were red, and she stamped her feet fiercely. "I don't." Lu Yinru clearly said she would, but now she's regretting it. "Daddy, you don't help me, but instead you help such a loser who can only charm the prince. Do you still care about my daughter?" Lu Romo was also helpless. His lips trembled, and he took a breath. "What else do you want? Dad has also given you the position of leader of the Qimin sect. The prince likes her. What can I do? Don't cause trouble for me. Go back to the room quickly." Lu Romo made a gesture of invitation. Lu Ling'er rushed in desperately and stood in front of Qing Qian with tears streaming down her face. She pointed at Lu Yinru and said, "What's so good about her? She was just born from a brothel woman. My father ransomed her mother because she and her son were pitiful. If it weren't for our Lu family, she would be just like that now. A genius in the capital. You were caught using fake spiritual objects, and now you are still trying to climb up." Lu Yinru held up the teacup on the table, and without blinking, the tea poured directly on Lu Ling'er's face. She closed her eyes, wiped the water from her face, and threw herself at Lu Yinru without thinking, shouting, while Qing Qian looked like he was watching a show and didn't pull or pull. Lu Romo pulled Lu Ling'er away with all his strength. The evil-minded Lu Ling'er standing aside was still struggling, and Lu Yinru became serious. "Wow!" The cup shattered into pieces in her hands. She threw the pieces to the ground. Her skin was scratched by the pieces and blood flowed out bit by bit. She stood up tall and walked out the door. leaving behind a cold and lonely figure. "I'll wait for you tomorrow." The scene suddenly became very quiet. Lu Linger broke away from Lu Romo's hands, ran to the eldest lady's room, and kept getting into her arms. "Mom, Lu Yinru bullied me. She stole my man, and even threw water at me." When the eldest lady heard that her daughter had been bullied, she became furious. How dare a coquettish bitch dare to be so arrogant? She has no spiritual power now. "Let's go, mother. I will avenge you." The two of them made an appointment and hurried to Lu Yinru's place, accompanied by dozens of maids who kicked open the door. Lu Yinru's mother was about to use her chopsticks to eat, but was shocked by the sudden appearance of the two. Mother Lu Yinru lowered her head and asked, "The eldest lady and the young lady came to see Jiner. She is not here today." The eldest lady walked to the table in one step and overturned the dishes on the table, and crackling sounds were heard one after another. "Eat, eat, eat. What kind of person is this person?" the eldest lady insulted. Lu Yinru's mother picked up the broken pieces of the bowl and put them on the table. No matter how much the eldest lady scolded her, she still wouldn't answer anything. She had had enough of this kind of day. Mother Lu Yinru held the fragments of the bowl in her hand and said, "Madam, please go out first. I will tidy up this place. These fragments are too sharp. It would be bad if someone is hurt." Lu Linger got angry, dropped her own mother's arm, and said with a proud look on her face, "No, look at this old woman. Her daughter is so favored, and she still pretends to be pitiful to win her father's favor. She is really shameless." Mother Lu Yinru just pursed her lips and said nothing. Since giving birth to Lu Yinru, when did Lu Romo come to the backyard to see her? Taking advantage of her mother's presence, Lu Linger snatched the pieces from Chen Xuanyao's hand, picked up her hand, and vented all her anger on Lu Yinru on her. Chen Xuanyao did not resist. "Lu Linger, I want to see what kind of blood is flowing in the bones of people like you." The sharp fragments cut Lu Yinru's mother's hand bit by bit. Blood spurted out, and the eldest lady smiled proudly. Suddenly, after a while, tears appeared in her eyes. Lu Yinru walked in from the door. He had just bandaged his hand when these people found this place. Lu Yinru raised her foot and kicked the eldest lady down from behind. With one swift step, she snatched the pieces from Lu Linger's hand and flew down to knock down Lu Linger. The eldest lady picked up the wooden stick on the side and looked back with wolf-like eyes that shocked the eldest lady. She kept holding Lu Linger's neck tightly with her hands and riding on Lu Linger's body. The cold pieces in her hand were close to Lu Linger's facial skin. She smiled evilly and said, "If you scratch this thing, I believe you will be shocked." The eldest lady pushed the maid next to her and said hurriedly, "Quick, go and call the master. Lu Yinru is going to kill the second young lady. Go quickly." Lu Linger began to panic in her heart, seeing the cruel look in Lu Yinru's eyes and the fragments sticking to her face.